U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner has called on Palestinians to take what he called, quote, the opportunity of the century.
To be clear, economic growth and prosperity for the Palestinian people are not possible without an enduring and fair political solution to the conflict, one that guarantees Israel's security and respects the dignity of the Palestinian people. However, today is not about the political issues. We'll get to those at the right time. Try new things and think outside the traditional box.
Kushner said if Palestinians agree to make peace with Israel, $50 billion will be pumped into their economy. He made the statements at the opening of a U.S.-led economic workshop in Bahrain. The Secretary General of the Palestine Liberation Organization has said the Trump administration wants to make the people and leadership of Palestine accept the tyranny of both the U.S. and Israel. Saib stressed efforts are doomed to failure. Palestinian Authority and the Hamas resistance movement have also denounced the U.S. initiative. They say Trump is trying to bribe them into handing Palestine over to Israel.
We reject the deal of the century. We will not give away anything from the land of Palestine, all of Palestine. We will not give away Jerusalem or Quds. We will not resettle, and we will not accept an alternative homeland. We will not accept expansion projects that are in the dreams and in the imaginations of some people.
Ismail Haniyeh stressed so-called deal of the century aims to finish off the Palestinian cause and pave the way for Israel to complete its occupation of Palestine. He denounced the Bahrain workshop as a political conference with an economic cover. Haniyeh stressed Palestine will not be divided. Two-day event in Bahrain has been boycotted by Palestinians. Joining us now is Saib, author and Middle East affairs expert out of Belfast, and Mr. James Thring, peace advocate and political commentator, joining us out of London. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome both of you to the program. I'd like to start with you, Mr. Saib out of Belfast. First, we're hearing everything from Jared Kushner and his allies here at this conference except a possible state for the Palestinian people. Why?
Because when he used the money in that way, Jared Kushner, he means money investment, $50 billion, which is going to be milked out, of course, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, need to be invested in 28 billion or 29 billions in Palestine and the rest in Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. So he says to any investors will need stability in the region. And stability means the Palestinians have to raise their hands and surrender and stop resisting the occupation. Then the money will come and the investment will come in Palestine under the condition of the Palestinians surrendering to the Israelis. That is the major point, which is Kushner and his father-in-law, Trump, is bringing here as a state a deal. They think they're selling property in New York or somewhere. You don't understand, this is Palestine. This is the most valuable, even a piece of land for the whole world, religiously, culturally, and historically. And the people who is supporting them on this level or prepared to pay because they receive orders from Trump, like the Saudis, Emiratis, Kuwaitis, or maybe the Japanese or some Europeans, are puppets for the United States of America. And at the end of the day, the Saudis knows, and they've been told directly, if you don't do what Trump's saying, they will replace the royal family with another bunch of Al Sauds to run the state. So at the end of the day, they are trying to pay any bribes to Trump to keep them in a place. But they have to understand, such deals, the Palestinians had so many deals before, over 70 deals, about to settle the Palestinian question for return of money or this land or that land. The famous one, which is the Clinton administration tried to sell to Yasser Arafat, the late Yasser Arafat, saying 99% of the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip in your hand, and just let's agree on time zones and control over Al-Aqsa Mosque. When he rejected that, and they promised they're going to turn Gaza and the West Bank in Singapore. We've seen how Gaza and the West Bank been turned into Hiroshima, not Singapore.
And your thoughts on this, initial thoughts, that is, Mr. James Thring.
Well, I noticed that neither Russia nor China are going to the meeting. They both boycotted it as well. So I guess that they have some background information about what the other side of this apparently attractive deal is. It wouldn't be called a deal if it was just a matter of milking other people's money to give to the Palestinians' cause, admittedly in Lebanon and Jordan and Egypt as well, if it weren't for some benefit to the Israelis. Now, I haven't seen what that benefit is, but I can imagine, as a previous speaker has just recited about the Clinton deal with Yasser Arafat, that there's some covert obligation demanded from the Palestinians, such as cancelling the right of return, cancelling the right of even visiting places that the Palestinians were terrorized out of, and more likely making them give up the whole idea of having a state of their own, and possibly even having a state where they had some power or some political representation. So,
right, and Mr. Thring, you see how the Palestinians see this. They see this young, Zionist kid, Jared Kushner, and he's approaching, Arab leaders to use Arab money to, to pay $50 billion to, an Arab population to give their land to a Zionist entity. So you see how appalling this is to Palestinians.
Well, I can see it could be attractive if they actually get that money and it's put into infrastructure for their benefit. But I would be suspicious of any kind of plan that came out of the head of Kushner and the other White House Zionists. It's bound to have a trick up its sleeve, unfortunately. And I think the Palestinians, the Chinese and the Russians are probably very wise to boycott it. Unfortunately, of course, the message that gives to the rest of the world, because the media is so much in hock to the Israeli-American side, will be just as after the Clinton deal. Oh, the Palestinians don't want peace. They don't want to cooperate. They don't want to talk. This will go down rather badly, I'm afraid, in the Western media and the Western psyche. But there it is. That's their opinion, and I admire their courage in shaking their fist at the deal instead of sheepishly going along with it, which is what I would tend to do, I must admit.
And Mr. Saib Shah, your thoughts, let's just say we play devil's advocate, let's say the Palestinians didn't boycott it, let's say Hamas and all the factions there actually attended, let's say they even accepted the $50 billion in cash, what would they be giving up in the process?
You see, I'm sorry, but I won't even go and touch this. I'll give you one thing. Last week, the Israeli ambassador to the United States of America wrote an article, I think it was published in the New York Times, or maybe I think the New York Times. And specifically, he asked the Palestinian to surrender. That's what he asked in the article. That is ahead of Bahrain conference. So the whole thing is, I remember I spoke about it in 2009 and 2010 on Press TV in here. It's called the one-state solution for the Likud party. That you say have a program called the Middle East Analysis. And the Likud party's one-state solution is to take control over the West Bank, swallow all of the West Bank, and keep 3 cantons like Bundesstans within the West Bank, one in the north, one in the middle, and one near Hebron. And of course, Jerusalem and up to the Valley of Jordan and parts of the entity, the Zionist entity. And from there, they will keep some of the Palestinians and transfer most of the Palestinians from even historically occupied Palestine to Jordan. And will tell the Palestinians, that is your country, Jordan.
And Mr. James, pardon me, go ahead.
Exactly what they're after.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so we can see from here this plans is being working from when Arafat refused the proposal of Clinton. And then Sharon came and he waged his war to break the back of the Palestinian Authority and then to break the back of the Palestinian resistance and stuff. But the Palestinians succeeded in the 2005, not to forget that, of kicking Sharon and his army and his settlers out of the Gaza Strip. And that's why today we see the Gaza Strip is blockaded. The Palestinians are strong when they are united. I said earlier on, there is over 70 deals like the deal of the century before being defeated by the Palestinians. The Palestinians have the Arab and Islamic world people, the population, I'm not talking about governments, behind them. They have the resistant camp led by Iran behind them. They have the free world and the people who are loving peace in the world, they are behind the Palestinians. Anybody against apartheid who participated in defeating apartheid in South Africa are behind the Palestinians today. So that is why we can see a madman and a settler like Kushner, the only thing in his CV is he is the son-in-law of Trump. That is the only thing. He's there. And this settler who lived in the Zionist settlements in occupied West Bank is trying to give everything using his father-in-law to the Israelis in return for the Zionist entity and the Israelis using their Jewish lobby and the Zionist lobby in there to secure a second election for Trump. This is the whole issue. This is the deal. The deal Trump wants to secure another election. But he doesn't know, and the Arabs who is running behind him, like Mohammed bin Salman, who want to be saved from the Khashoggi murder by doing whatever Trump asks of him. This is why the Saudis are pumping the money to save the Crown Prince from the international questioning or going to the criminal court about killing Khashoggi in the embassy, in the council in Istanbul. So there is a lot of issues in here, and that's why they're putting the Palestinian as the scapegoat and kick the Palestinians out of Palestine, and we can secure the throne in Saudi Arabia and secure Trump in a second election on the account of the Palestinian. But this is the wishful thinking. This will never happen.
Okay. And Mr. James Turing, we don't have much time left, but a lot of people feel like when Jerry Kushner stands up there at the lectern in front of a lot of these Arab leaders and he says things like, you know, this is the economic aspect of this, we want to avoid getting into the political aspect, that just shows, a lot of critics are saying, that shows just asinine ignorance to the Palestinian cause. You cannot address this thing without talking about land, without talking about the marginalization of the Palestinian people, without talking about oppression, without talking about Palestinian rights, and so on and so forth. Your thoughts, and we only have about 2 minutes left. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I quite agree. It's very suspect that he's deliberately ignoring the Palestinian political issues that you've just recited, and he says he's going to deal with them later. Well, why not now? I mean, a plan to spend money is pretty useless if it hasn't got any political objectives about boundaries, about human rights, about war crimes, compensation, freedom to govern themselves, the Palestinians, and so on. It's just clearly a smokescreen for the elections. Netanyahu and Trump both want to be able to say, when they're questioned about their treatment and ignorance of the Palestinian issue, oh, we offered them a peace deal of the century. We got together billions of dollars, and it didn't turn up. That, unfortunately, is going to be what's going to happen, I have to say.
Gentlemen, pardon me, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Threem, but we are out of time. I want to thank you both sincerely for joining us here on the program. صائب Ashat out of Belfast, and Mr. James Threem joining us out of London. Thank you both. And viewers,
Sorry to be so negative.
And that's a wrap for this segment of your Press TV's News Review. Thanks for tuning in, and goodbye for now.